Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by the Ham Station. Get your new radio or antenna by calling 800-729-4373 or go to hamstation.com.
It's Ham Radio.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Ham Talk Live, episode number 30. It's Youngsters on the Air with Sam Rose, KC2LRC and Sterling Coffey, N0SSC, recorded live on Thursday, September 8th, 2016. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight we'll be joined by Sam Rose, KC2LRC and Sterling Coffey, N0SSC. They were in Austria this summer for the IARU Region 1 Youngsters on the Air Camp. They'll share their experiences and their ideas for starting a similar event right here in the U.S. We'll take your calls live in just a few minutes. Last week on the show, Rob Sherwood, NC0B, was here to talk about selecting the HF rig for you and using his receiver performance data charts. So if you missed that show or any of the others, you can listen anytime at hamtalklive.com. You can also download the podcast from iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, or SoundCloud, or you can also listen to us on YouTube. Get your questions ready to go about Youngsters on the Air after the introduction. You can call us on Skype. The username there is Ham Talk Live, and you can also call us by telephone. The telephone number is 812-NET-HAM-1. That's 812-NET-HAM-1, 638-4261. You can also send a question via Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @HamTalkLive, and there's even a chat area on hamtalklive.com. You can post some questions there as well. I'll be right back with Sam and Sterling right after this word from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. Tower Electronics has been the Ham's dime store since 1978, bringing connectors, antennas, cables, and other parts to the world. Scott and Jill travel the country bringing their store to you at Hamfest, but you can also order online at pl-259.com or by calling 920-435-2973. Stock up on those supplies like PL259 and N connectors, audio cables, mobile antennas, and ham sticks. Their silver-plated N connectors are even in use on the International Space Station. Tower Electronics is a dealer for MFJ, Comet, Daiwa, OPEC, Workman, and Ham Pro Technologies. Tower Electronics online at pl-259.com, proud to sponsor this episode of Ham Talk Live.
A flashlight is a case for holding dead batteries. Now, here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live.
thanks to Scott and Jill at Tower Electronics for sponsoring the show once again tonight to help bring you Ham Talk Live. They'll be at the Findlay, Ohio Ham Fest on Sunday. Next weekend, they'll be in Peoria for the Superfest in Peoria, Illinois. And then on the 24th, they'll be in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. Give them a call at 920-435-2973 or visit their website at pl-259.com. Be sure to listen to Ham Talk Live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here on hamtalklive.com. And if you miss the show, you can download the podcast from the website and most popular podcasting websites. Sam Rose, KC2LRC, is from Syracuse, New York. Sam was first licensed in June 2003. At the age of 13, he studied electrical engineering at Clarkson University, where he was president of Clarkson's radio club, K2CC, from 2010 through 2012. He now works with C-Speed in Liverpool, New York, doing engineering and data performance analysis work on the C-Speed Lightwave radar, a next-generation S-band air traffic surveillance radar. Sam is an avid contester, works satellites, public service events, IRLP. He restores radios and enjoys special events like balloon launches, International Space Station retransmissions, and weird contests. Since he started ham radio at a young age, he's particularly interested in introducing ham radio to youth and young adults. And to this end, he spoke this past May at the Instructors Forum at the Dayton Hamvention about the importance of college radio clubs and was selected to attend Youngsters on the Air in Austria this past summer. Sterling Coffey, N0SSC, is from St. Louis, Missouri. Sterling is currently an avionics and communication systems design, test, and integration engineer in St. Louis. Sterling became a ham at age 16 and is one of the former youth editors at ARRL and has his own YouTube channel about ham radio. He is a 2014 graduate of Missouri University of Science and Technology, where he was president of the W0EE Amateur Radio Club. His degree in electrical engineering with an emphasis in electromagnetics is from there. He does a lot of listening, contesting, and remote operating from the W0EE shack, as well as his parents' shack. And he was also selected to represent the United States at Youngsters on the Air in Austria this past summer, which is what we're talking about this evening. So, Sam, Sterling, welcome to Ham Talk Live.
Hey, happy to be here.
Evening, Neil. Thanks for having us tonight.
Well, I met Sam a few years ago over at the Hamvention with one of my former students, and we've kind of kept in touch over the years, and he's had a lot of great ideas, especially for college radio clubs. And so he was selected to go over here, and then Sterling's been around doing the youth editing over at ARRL and that kind of thing, and I see him at the Youth Forum as well. So, Sam, I did an interview with you for Amateur Radio Newsline a few weeks ago, and you mentioned how the two of you were selected for Youngsters on the Air and why this trip was so important to go on. So why don't you fill in our listeners about who sent you guys over there and what the goal was for you to go over to YOTA?
Okay, well, this is the fifth year, or was the fifth year of the Youngsters on the Air event. This year it was in Austria. I believe last year it was in Italy. And this event has picked up so much steam. It's been so successful that a lot of U.S. amateur radio societies have been looking into this as a model of how can we interest enthusiastic youths and provide activities and have a get-together of youth amateur radio operators in which they can learn some new things, meet each other, and just do some straight-out touristy things. So after 4 years of this event picking up steam, Northern California DX Foundation and YASME decided to find a couple of us, which we happened to be the two who went, and send us out there to take part in the event. and learn about it, partake, take a lot of photos, and come back with some ideas about, what stuff that they do would work well here, and how would we need to change it. But the goal is eventually to create a similar event, or one or many similar events in the U.S.
Okay, so who picked you guys out? How did that all go?
That was Glenn Johnson, W0GJ. Hopefully, I remember his call sign right. And
yeah, that was right.
Yep.
N0AX, among a couple other at the two foundations.
Yeah, I gave you guys a teaser on I believe, episode 28 with Ward Silver, thanking him for YOTA and thanking him for the consideration and the funding as well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, very good. Now, Sterling, when I first heard that the two of you were going, I was a little curious because, I know you guys, and I was like, well, wait a minute, these guys have graduated college. Why are they going? Why aren't my students going? Or, why aren't some of these other guys going? How's that working? And so a lot of the programs that we have here in the U.S., like the Culture Youth Expedition, you got to be 17 or younger, or the Youth Forum speakers at Hamvention, or Young Ham of the Year, or 18 and younger. The idea of the word youngster is a little different over there with YOTA. So can you explain to us the activities that took place over there and how they define youngster?
Yeah, sure. Youngster, it's definitely a different culture over there. A youngster over there might be more portrayed as a young adult. And especially in the ham radio world, kids, I guess youngsters, young people or young adults or people under the age of 26, 27 are considered youngsters in the ham radio world, In the U.S., that's probably more like somebody's age 7, age 5, anywhere between like 5 and 10 or so, before you get into like adolescence or youth or young adults. So there's a lot of words for it. But that's what they had. And I imagine if we bring it to the U.S., we might call it Youth on the Air or something similar. There was a myriad of activities. There was a whole week full of activities ranging from an ISS contact, a lot of workshops where we built things like an HF roll-up antenna, an in-fed half-wave antenna. We built a Slim Jim J-pole as well, and they provided all of this equipment to us, by the way, for as part of the application fee, which was only €25, which was really, really good for a week-long stint in a very nice youth hotel in Austria with all these activities. We all got Raspberry Pis, and we made a Wspr beacon out of it. We built a low-pass filter to filter out the noise from the harmonics that it generated. We did Hamnet over in Europe. They have this, Hamnet, right?
Hamnet is to give you a quick description, it's a high-speed data protocol based on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and they all use. We got 5.8 gigahertz routers and antennas. And we got to connect to that, and you could communicate all across Europe with the Hamnet, and it's really well done and really well distributed, similar to the HamWAN in Seattle and the one in Austin, and I think there's one in California too, but it's much more spread out, and I guess completed. And what else did we do, Sam? We did some IMCOM events, like basically setting up a station really quickly and learning how to send email over the air. We did our main events, which were, I would think, the castle and the ice cave excursions, where we went to go activate a castle. You might remember the name of it, Sam, better than me.
Festung Hohenwerfen.
Yeah.
Say that 3 times fast, would you?
Yeah. And there we did Castles on the Air activation. We got to see this cool bird presentation, or this Birds of Prey presentation, where they had these trained eagles and hawks and raptors and crow. I guess they had vultures there as well that would fly around, and they talked about it. But it was in German, so we didn't understand too much. Which, by the way, everybody spoke English at the camp. Since they had 30 countries being represented there, they decided the camp language would be English, and it turns out most people know English pretty well, with all the accents and countries that came. It was no problem for us at all. I could bring up the schedule. There was a whole schedule of activities to remind me. But Sam, why don't you take care of the last half of the week?
We did a couple of really interesting things, and I thought one of the strongest point was of the camp was that we really mixed up between just straight out ham radio workshops and touristy activities. So the Castle Hohenwerfen, the Ice Cave were really more touristy than ham radio, but we had a little bit of ham radio activity mixed in. The Summits on the Air activation was a big hike to the top of a couple of mountains in Austria, which was beautiful. Austria is majestic. And there were 3 different mountains that we could go on, different levels of difficulty, and each had a cable car or a ski lift getting us most of the way to the top, and then we hiked the rest and just stayed up there for a couple of hours and socialized and operated a few portable stations. And then finally, we did a European-style fox hunt, which is a bit different than what I'm used to here. And that was where you had you were up against the clock to do a 1.6-mile course where there were 5 foxes to find, each with a little hole punch on them that punches a pattern into your card. So you'd one at a time, you'd find each fox, punch your card, and the person who won was the person who made it back the most quickly. So it was not only a radio direction finding event, but it was also an athletic event. If you were the fastest person, then you would do better. And also, that was a lot of fun. So, finally, we've done a really good job keeping in touch with the organizers and the people that we participated with. There's been an internet chat room that was put up by somebody there to keep us in touch, and they've done some contests following. In particular, we had a WSPR contest where we took the beacons we made out of our Raspberry Pis and got on the air for a week, and the team who had the highest average distance of their top 10 contacts won. And we were, Team USA was number 2 to Team Germany, and we all had a lot of fun, and that's been keeping us in touch. There's a couple people tutoring each other in Morse code. There's a couple people discussing how to put up better antennas and and they've really done a good job making sure that people who are interested have been able to take the activities forward. Yeah,
excellent. And there was so much more to it. Like, we also had our OE2 YOTA special event station there. We had 4 HF stations and a 120-foot tall portable mobile tower with a big OptiBeam on it. And we had this operating. We made over 7,000 QSOs on it during the week, and that was a big focus point for the group. So that was a lot of fun.
And even a little volleyball, I heard.
Yeah, volleyball, as well as a lake trip, a swimming trip we went on.
So it sounds like there's a good balance there to try to get people together. So now that you're back, Sam, and you've had a few weeks to kind of reminisce and decompress about the trip, what did you learn from that experience that is possibly going to help start a similar event here in the U.S.?
Well, that is quite a big subject of a conversation, but we hit on a few already, and one of them that I thought was one of the best was the balance between amateur radio activities and some time off, so that socialization and resting and going out to bars could occur, and some activities that were just plain touristy, like going to see the ice cave and going to the lake and playing beach volleyball. It was a really good mix-up. The activities were well geared towards both hams who were new and hams who were pretty experienced. That was one thing that took me by surprise. This was definitely not really it was not an introductory camp. I thought it was much more of kind of an camp geared towards intermediate to advanced youths, but there were some of everybody, and some of the kids really enjoyed the ability to grab a time shift on the station. A lot of them turned out to be really good operators who had just never had the opportunity to operate such a good station, and never did things like figuring out, oh, my antenna is pointed this way, because their antennas were just dipoles in their yards. Mm-hmm. I think the activities themselves were quite good. There was a lot of diversity. There were some optional workshops in which we had there's some things where, like, they explained de-expeditions, some workshops on cell phone technology, some emergency communications gear. There was also a lot of tying together of the workshops. The emergency communications antennas, or portable antennas that we made, which were just these simple end-fed high-C antennas that worked down to about 20 meters. We did those one day. We built them. And then later we took them up on the castle, and that's where we did our castle on the air activation. So the stuff kept being carried forward. And finally, I think one of the strongest parts of the event was that they focused on intermediate level hams, people who were a bit older in some cases, and they sold it more and did it more as an event to let people who have interest, who want to flex their muscles and find people to do it with. And I think that's why there's 125 participants in this chat room that we started at the end of it. And most of us still talk about things, and we're all trying to advance in some way. So certainly a lot of other things to discuss. I think those were the main points, though.
Okay, so Sterling, now that we've got these ideas, how are the plans coming for, trying to do something like this? Where is this sitting now, and what are you guys hoping to organize in the next year or so?
Well, this is a big heavy loaded question, because one thing Sam didn't mention is the amount of planning and effort and the 5 years prior to this of learning about what was good, what was bad. This was a very, very well run camp, and it was done. It couldn't have been done without I think about 30 volunteer leaders who helped. This was performed mainly by the Austrian Radio Club Society, who had a lot of very talented project engineers and leaders, and people who were very into and knew a lot about, teaching and leading, and especially with a youth group like this. There was a lot of negotiations with pricing. There was a lot of sponsorships, tons of sponsorships, actually, like well over a couple dozen from companies and donors and everything like that. So the plans are really, really in truly early stages. Currently, we're writing a sort of a proposal, sort of a lessons learned. What have we learned from this event that we're going to send off to the guys who sent us there, NCDXF and YASME. And currently I'm talking with a lot of interested people around. Eventually I'll be seeing what the ARRL thinks of this, if they can help support us in the future, as well as looking into venues, locations, and then also finding the people. Like, this has to get out, the word has to get out to everyone, all the young hams out there, so that we actually have people involved. And Jamboree on the Air of the Boy Scouts has a lot of this covered, so we're going to try to leverage a lot of what they know about youth and ham radio, and using ham radio to get a lot of credit and badges, and as well as get more youth on the air from that event to help us with this camp that'll be mainly focused about ham radio, as opposed to focused on scouting and camping and that sort of thing. So we don't know how long it's going to take at this moment. It's right now just Sam and I and one or two other people out there, and so I'm expecting this to snowball very soon once we get this article out and a few newsletters and really get the word out about our intentions of bringing this to IARU Region 2.
Very good. Well, get your questions ready, folks. We're going to take a break and pay part of the bills, but we'll be back here just shortly to take your calls after this message from the Ham Station right here on Ham Talk Live. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by the Ham Station. For 35 years, the Ham Station has brought new and used radios, antennas, accessories, and equipment to the amateur radio community. Give Jeff or Dan a call at 1-800-729-4373 or order online at hamstation.com. Ham Station carries all the major brands like ICOM, Yaesu, and Kenwood. Shop from a wide selection of radio scanners, MFJ accessories, Heil Sound products, Mirage and Ameritron amplifiers, Cushcraft antennas, and more. Easy online shopping and fast shipping are waiting for you at hamstation.com or call 1-800-729-4373. The Ham Station, proud to sponsor this episode of Ham Talk Live.
Hey baby, what's your sign? What's your call sign?
Join the conversation. Call us on voice with Skype at Ham Talk Live or give us a call at 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Now, here's more Ham Talk Live.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. The Ham Station has you covered for both new and used equipment. You can even try it out right there in the store. Give Dan or Jeff a call at 800-729-4373 or go to hamstation.com. Hey, be sure to listen to us here on Ham Talk Live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. All you have to do is go to hamtalklive.com. And also check out our Facebook page and our Twitter feed. We usually post some links about the show and some pictures up there. Just search for Ham Talk Live. Well, it's time now for your calls. So if you have a question for Sam or Sterling or a comment, give us a call. The phone number is 812-NET-HAM1. That's 812-638-4261. Or you can Skype. You can Skype us at Ham Talk Live. You can tweet us at Ham Talk Live. That's the name, at Ham Talk Live on Twitter. Or you can post in the chat. We can do that as well. So if you have any questions about youngsters on the air or want to talk about it, give us a call. Again, 812-638-4261. So while you guys were over there, and while we're waiting on some questions to come in and some calls, you guys had a chance to do a little sightseeing while you were over there. Did you get to do any operating on your own away from the camp, or just tour around and take in the sights? What were you able to do there?
Well, I didn't do much operating aside from the camp, but I did do a lot of sightseeing. I went and hung out in Munich for the Saturday after the camp was over to hang out with one of my college friends, college peers from my Mars rover team. That was really cool. He took me up to a clock tower where you can climb up, I think, 14 flights of stairs. So that was really cool. And it was really convenient, too, because my fiance and I are planning on going to do like a European tour this Christmas. And we're going to like 5 different countries. And the whole idea of going to Europe is much more settled with me now that I've gone there. Saw some sites and kind of understand how to spread your wings in the European country. It was a whole new thing to me because I've never been out of the country that far.
Yeah, I think during the camp, there were certainly some opportunities to do it around of the Grine, which was the little Austrian ski town that we were in. I was more concerned there with some photography than getting on the radio. We did go and work OE2 YOTA by attaching Wspr 7LR's FT817 to the screen in the window, and loading it up, and there was OE2 stroke KC2LRC. Hey, you're in the log, and pass the microphone to Sterling. OE2 stroke N0SSC. Hey, that's 2 contacts, right? So, but I did go see Salzburg for 2 days afterwards. I saw Munich for the last day, and I had a good time. But the touristy stuff that we did as part of the camp was phenomenal. I mean, getting to see the castle, we took the tour of the castle. We saw the Birds of Prey show, and then we had meanwhile, another group was in the Eisriesenwald, the largest ice cave in Austria and maybe the world. And so then we switched around noon, and the 2 groups did alternate activities. And so there was plenty to see, and not to mention, I want to go skiing in Austria now.
So we may be planning a return visit. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that's called Friedrichshafen.
There you go. There you go.
So there's a lot of notion that a lot of the people that I met there meet in Friedrichshafen, and that's something I've been thinking about for a few years now as a way to break the ice and go to Europe. So the icebreaker turned out to be something completely different, but what fun would it be to go and see this and maybe operate for a day or 2 at some of my new friends' stations, make a special QSL card for anybody I work, and just have a good time.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a good time. And I saw a lot of your pictures, and you did get some nice photography work in over there, and even a meal and a beverage or 2.
Yes, probably one of the best aspects of the event, and one of the hardest we would have recreating in the U.S. is in Europe. Most drinking ages are between 16 and 18 now. I showed up at the intercultural night that they did, which was basically bring something from your country. Bring some food, dessert or something from your country. And there were all kinds of pastries and snacks. And
cultural dress. Everybody had their flag shown.
Yeah, and so, if I did this again, I would have brought a couple of nice things of bourbon whiskey, because that would have been very American. But instead, we just had a whole bunch of crummy mass market confections.
Some Twinkies, some Kit Kats, some Snickers, and a bunch of glow sticks. They really like that.
As if it
Glow sticks.
Wow.
Yeah, red, white, and blue.
Please tell me you didn't dress up like Justin Bieber.
Oh, no.
No, we're from the U.S., not from Canada.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, I can't say the same about Miley Cyrus, but
we haven't had a Team VE3 yet, but we had Team W2 for the first time at this camp.
Yeah, they're really expanding. But yeah, no, we had no idea it was going to be. We actually thought we were going to be mentors or leaders, because we thought it was going to be like youngsters, as in young people, as in people younger than us. But that was totally not the case. The youngest person there was 15, and I think the oldest was 26 or 27. I know, Sam, you were up there.
No, it was the oldest person I was aware of who was with a team was 32. One of the Polish team members, I think the team leader, and he was a very interesting guy. He works on installing things on radio, on comms towers. So we were talking about security cameras that they were putting up on borders and what infrastructure he had to put up to support that.
Yeah, like I said, that was one of the things that I was like, okay, wait a minute. I know these guys are not, they're at least over 21. And what's going on with that?
We have to consider something like that, because it might be really shocking to hear, for a lot of people who want to, like you, who want to help organize and garner some youth for it. That they'll be surprised to hear, my 7-year-old or my 10 or 13-year-old, they're not allowed. What for? So we might look into changing the age and changing a whole bunch of things. It's just going to be a big project. So,
well, and maybe that you have a better selection of those younger ages here in the U.S. that they may not have over there. I know some countries actually do have an age requirement on the license
16.
even. So yeah. And when I took my novice class, there was an age limit of 13 on it, and here I am walking in at 5, and Dad's just like, well, he's just going to sit here with me, and come with me. He'll be quiet. He won't cause any trouble. And then all of a sudden when I start copying code, everybody starts looking around going, why do we have this 13-year-old age requirement? So, it all worked out and got my license, and that paved the way, I think, for a lot of others to start out at that kind of that young of an age. So, it may be that you have to change that, but then, you also have issues with, are you going to trust your 6-year-old kid at a camp
with liability,
strangers and liability, and so there's a lot to consider.
Yeah, at the same time, I need to, because ham radio was the reason why I got the jobs that I did and that I went to the school that I did, and I feel like we don't want to exclude anybody from learning about ham radio and doing these cool things that really set the hook and or like get how you get the bug of ham radio, you get bit by the bug. This sort of stuff really inspired me to get more involved in promoting youth and promoting ham radio to youth. So the same thing, goes for young people. We want more young people so that we can have more people in STEM fields, for example. You know what I mean?
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Much like I presented on at the instructors forum at the Hamvention, that really benefits young people who are going into universities and then who are coming out. Certainly radar and radio have a lot in common. They're the same thing for a different purpose, and ham radio, I think, gave me the advantage in college of not just being, that guy who's done his coursework and everybody has. Well, how are you going to appear different than that? How are you going to appear to have some sort of advantage? And to me, that was dealing with the ham radio.
Exactly.
So I think one of the big things that we learned here was that, at least in my opinion, I don't know how true this is, but from my perception, I believe the energy directed towards outreach to young hams in the U.S. Is directed, maybe it's not directed necessarily too young, but there's not enough of it directed at kind of college age and young adult hams, the way that it seemed to have been in Europe. And I don't know if that's a correct perception, but at least that's how I feel it is. We have big programs like IARU Big Project, which are focused on middle schools and high schools. And then at that point, the kids are kind of turned loose, and I think there's a lot to be lost there, especially if you build kids up at that point and then don't take them further. So YOTA probably adapted for the U.S. really could be a building block in the next step. We expose people to more advanced activities, have icebreakers, spend a week with people your age in camp, and then keep in touch when you leave.
Really, and all in all, it's mutually beneficial because, all of the young people that came back to their respective country were inspired like us. And here we are trying to bring this to the U.S. and IARU Region 2 and other countries that don't have it. And the same goes for them. They're bringing the idea that young people in ham radio are not a dime a dozen. They're actually, or the other way around, are not a diamond in the rough. They're actually tons of them. There's literally dozens of us out there who are into this, and we need to know that as young people so that we stay interested and included and inspired.
812-638-4261, 812-NET-HAM1 if you have a question or a comment for Sam Rose and Sterling Coffey. We have just a few minutes remaining, so if you want to call in, give us a call or post something on chat or on Twitter. We will sure talk about it. The fox hunt, Sam, that you were telling me about back back in the Newsline segment. That really fascinated me, and they do that on 80 meters.
Yes, with ferrite bar antennas, which are very bidirectional. So they have these small transmitters when they use these custom-built receivers, which have I think it's probably a very simple receiver. And the ferrite bar antenna is much more compact than a Yagi that you would use on VHF or UHF even. And it's remarkably good for that because it has strong nulls on either side. Now, they put some sort of second antenna on the thing. It was a little whip on one side that you could press a red button on the box, and it would activate that, and that would attenuate it to one side so that you could disambiguate which side of the ferrite bar you were listening on. And that really just meant, which side of the road is the thing on for the run that we did. Now, on Sterling's Twitter, I believe you can watch his run. He was the video guy. I was the still pictures guy. And so he had a GoPro on when he did this run. So you can see exactly what we did on Sterling's Twitter. That's N0SSC on Twitter.
Yeah.
And
And
maybe we'll try to retweet that, actually.
sure. It was intense. Like, I got sweaty. I fell a few times. I got wet. It was really a great cross-country run. And in fact, right now, the 18th, I got a cat in front of me. The 18th World ARDF Championships is going on right now until tomorrow, I believe. And U.S. has a team there. I don't know how well they're doing, but that's currently going on right now.
Yeah, it's a much more exhilarating event than your typical Foxconn that I've been used to doing it in the States.
Yeah, that sounded really interesting, and
It'd be cool to bring that
idea.
to the U.S.
So,
too.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was getting ready to say. Was you think you'll do it that style if you get a chance to do this here?
Absolutely. Yeah, because all we've done before is like the there's a fox out in your city and you got to go find it. Drive to it with your tape measure Yagi. But this is a totally different thing. You got a map, you have to have a compass, you got to go, run for it, and you're racing against everybody. So everybody loves competition, everybody loves games, and I really think something like that would be great to have over here because I don't know if we do it, and we certainly don't do it enough if we do.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we're just about out of time, so if there's anything you guys want to throw in here, we've got about a minute to wrap things up. Unintended.
No, I think I've said it. I mean, there's still so much to talk about with YOTA, and we still have so much to go forward in bringing it over.
No, for sure. Well, first of all, I really appreciate the time on tonight. There's so much more to talk about, but we'll be putting together what we think about whatever our event turns into. We hope it's going to be successful. We think it will be, and I'm always looking forward to working with whoever's interested in getting together to form this event. So
absolutely, feel free to contact us.
Feel free to get in touch with us. QRZ.com for me, and for Sterling.
Yeah, N0SSC. Just Google me.
Okay,
yeah.
So N0SSC and KC2LRC are the call signs, and I want to hear more about this, and if I can interject some things into to helping out on that, I'd absolutely love to. So, guys, thanks for being on the show tonight. For sure, appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, thanks for having us tonight.
Fun.
Gil.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. Thanks to Sam Rose, KC2LRC, and Sterling Coffey, N0SSC, and everybody out there listening in cyberspace, and invite you all back next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time when Skylar Fennell, KD0WHB, the 2016 Bill Pasternak Amateur Radio Newsline Young Ham of the Year, will be here to talk about his award and his future plans. For a list of all of our upcoming guests, be sure to visit hamtalklive.com. For now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.